My name is Esther Wachuku, and these are the top stories. ISWAP terrorist slaughter member for allegedly diverting funds for personal use. U.S. court reportedly orders Chicago University to release Tinubu's academic records to Atiku. Kano police orders only 50 persons permitted into tribunal court. Angry Oyo APC members pelt Ganduje entourage with sachet water. Details now. The Islamic State in West Africa province ISWAP has killed one of its members for diversion of funds. A counterinsurgency expert, Zagazola Makama, disclosed this via his X account today. According to Makama, the murdered ISWAP member was sent to buy foodstuff but diverted the money for personal use. The counterinsurgency expert said the deceased was tied for about 2 hours before he was slaughtered in Ajikuru in Damboa local government area of Borno State. Borno is in northeastern Nigeria and is the epicenter of insurgency in the country. This is coming a few weeks after several members of the group and fighters of the Boko Haram lost their lives during a clash between the two camps in Borno State. The rival groups have been attacking communities in the northeast region since both camps fell apart over leadership issues. The groups have also since been having clashes, and Abubakar Shekau, the leader of Boko Haram, was reportedly killed during one of such clashes in 2021. Meanwhile, a United States court has reportedly ordered Chicago State University to release the academic records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, within 2 days, and also certify its authenticity under oath. VOP News understands that this is seen as a significant victory for Atiku in his ongoing push to demonstrate Bola Tinubu's ineligibility to be Nigeria's president. The federal court in Chicago on Tuesday night directed CSU to turn over all records relating to Tinubu to Atiku, saying the former vice president has sufficiently satisfied the purpose for seeking the records. According to the ruling seen by the People's Gazette, an online investigation medium, Judge Jeffrey Gilbert also ordered a deposition of designated CSU officials within 2 days after the records had been released, noting further that the process can be conducted during the weekend if necessary. Recall that on August 2nd, Atiku had filed an application for the court to order a CSU to produce documents relating to Tinubu, as well as leave to get the school's administrators to authenticate any document submitted under oath. He said the documents would be part of his ongoing challenge against Tinubu's election earlier this year. The former vice president noted that Tinubu should not have been allowed to run for president because he had submitted a forged document under oath violating the Nigerian constitution. I actually have via the telephone Barrister Eze Eluche, a legal practitioner, a political commentator, a social affairs analyst as well. Barrister Eze Eluche, good afternoon and welcome to VOP World News at 12.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Barrister Ezeluche, we do know that the CSU certificate had been a serious tussle, and I think the president himself may be regretting by now why this particular document seems to be a staunch on his, would I say, let's just use his image or his personality at the moment, because he has clinched the vital ticket. He is now the president of the country. And apparently on Tuesday night, the CSU judge, Judge Gilbert, ordered that the CSU certificate be given to presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, having satisfied all the requirements that which he said he needed that particular record for. But do you think that it's already too late for it?
Well, it is never too late to get at the truth. So if the Chicago court do get the state university to release the documents, it will be quite helpful, because one of the things that these documents will reveal, there have been allegations that the Tinubu that got admission to that university is a United States citizen. Another allegation is that the Tinubu that got to that university is a female. So if it turns out that this is the reality, that this person who got into that university under the name of Bola Tinubu is female and a U.S. citizen, it will mean directly that Mr. Tinubu, who is the president of Nigeria, is involved in identity fraud. It will also mean that the person who submitted the that the Supreme Court is a court that has very, very wide powers. It is not restricted solely to arguments made before it. It has the powers to ask or order the summoning of witnesses if it is vital to clarify issues. So if what the court of Mr. Tinubu did by delaying the process till after the application of the past Supreme Court, and then he feels that it is too late, it is never too late. If the court is minded to look for those details, and if it turns out that all the fears that Nigerians have been having about the qualifications of Mr. Tinubu, whether it's a male or female, or it's a U.S. citizen, if it materializes, then it becomes clear that the person who is acting as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria must get out of that office as soon as possible for the sake of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if he does not, then all actions must be undertaken to ensure that we're not led by a fraudster, by someone who's involved in illicit fraud, and several other crimes.
All right, Barrister Ezeluche, a couple of persons will actually say that there is a system, there is actually a play whereby this particular certificate situation is being deliberately set up to just destabilize the president while he tries to look for innovative methods to, improve the Nigerian economy. But the questionable thing here is this: let's move away a little bit from the president and what a lot of persons may perceive this particular development to be. Let's look at the school itself and the U.S. court. They did know that Atiku Abubakar needed that document to be given to him or admitted to him as soon as possible, because at the time he filed for it, he said he had a 14-day window. The 14-day window elapsed on Wednesday. This last week Wednesday, not this one. Last week Wednesday. Was it? Well, yes, basically. Last week Wednesday, or rather this Wednesday, right? Today is Wednesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. No, this Wednesday it elapses, and they released it just last night. That was when they released the document. Yes, just last night it was released. The school and the court itself have been creating a sense of confusion. Today we hear that the school authenticated the president's certificate or his CSU certificate, saying that it had the seal of the school, the serial number of the school, even though when it was tendered initially in 1979 that there may have been some differences, but they can authenticate that indeed the president did attend the school. Last week Friday also, we saw some transcripts validating the claim of the school that the president did indeed attend that particular university. The school sometimes will say they cannot authenticate the authenticity of that certificate. So please, between the school, the courts, and the president, who is being sincere in what they're saying? Who is being transparent concerning this particular CSU certificate?
Thank you very much. What this whole episode will do is to clear the mind of Nigerians regarding foreign issues or foreign items or things coming from abroad.
Okay.
Many Nigerians have been deceived or believe that anything that has United States on it or Great Britain on it must be genuine. That is not true.
That is not true. I thought the idea is that the system puts everything in perspective. So how
no.
It's not applying now?
No, I mean, for those of us who have known the American system and the British system, know that they are also amenable to fraud. In fact, the word fraud is not a Nigerian word; it's an English word. So they are the masters of the game. They are the masters of deception, masters of fraud. So what Chicago State University has done, shown to Nigerians is that just like you have some kangaroo or mushroom institutions in Nigeria, you also have kangaroo and mushroom institutions in the United States of America or in Great Britain. Not too long ago, Harvard University, Yale University, the top schools in America were involved in admission racketeering for people who had some kind of cash to throw around. So it only shows Nigerians that it is not everything that has made in USA or made in UK on it that we must accept hook, line, and sinker as genuine or above fraud. They can also be susceptible to fraud. And in this instance, we have seen all the efforts by the Chicago State University to frustrate genuine efforts to unravel the sincerity of purpose of Mr. Tinubu. And this thing can only have happened because of overbearing financial inducement. I am bold enough to say that because there is no reason why a school cannot say this is not a certificate, this is a certificate, if not for inducement by one one means or the other. So whatever has happened, the worst hit so far is the educational institutions in the United States of America, because they have now been proved that they are not as upright as they are thought of, that there are some fraudulent ones among them, and that just like we have in Nigeria, we have Oduwole certificate, that is fake certificate. We can also have Oduwole fake certificate from the United States of America. In fact, the former US President, Donald Trump, was fined and paid some fines for using a Trump university for fraudulent purposes. So Chicago State University has now fallen to that category of schools that can be used for fraudulent outcomes. It is quite unfortunate for that institution and several other schools in the United States of America.
So how will, with what has actually transpired with all you have actually described, that particular school itself, do you think they have derailed in putting out an image that one could consider to be prestigious? Most of these international schools like to present an image that everyone should consider prestigious. But a couple of persons feel that they are also not beyond some underhand workings or some underhand mappings. For example, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party stated that this particular document will be part of his ongoing challenge against President Tinubu's election. And for him, he is insisting that the president shouldn't have even run in the first place. Over time, with how elections are conducted here, once a president has been declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission or the committee that is responsible for conducting elections, once they have declared the winner, it is actually quite difficult to overturn the ruling. So whether this document came in at the last minute, whether it did not come in at the last minute, do you think it's going to make any difference at the Supreme Court?
Well, it is only hope that the justice of the Supreme Court will exercise the powers that are bestowed in them by the Constitution and by the rules of the court. The rules of the Supreme Court give them a very large power to do whatsoever to attain justice, inclusive of summoning witnesses. So one really does hope that the Supreme Court will live up to expectations, and that if the outcome of the court order in Chicago is to the detriment or exposes the rot or the falsehood that Mr. Tinubu has been trying to cover for a while, the Supreme Court can genuinely order for those documents to be brought into the court file, look at it, and dispassionately give a judgment on this issue. But we must remember, the issue is not just this Chicago certificate that both the Labour Party and the PDP have gone to the Supreme Court over. There are several issues, so that the 5% of Abuja, of votes in Abuja, the fine of 460,000 paid, the various inaccuracies, the issue of citizenship of Guinea that was not disclosed, and several other issues. Each and every one of them can truncate the presidency of Mr. Bola Tinubu.
Okay.
The only pity about this situation is that we have in Nigeria a character that is betraying international politics, going to the United Nations to address the world as the president of Nigeria, when in reality the fundamentals of his existence is still being unraveled.
Okay.
The fundamentals of his candidature, even to qualify to contest, is being unraveled. And this same man, the system allows him to go about telling the world and acting as president of Nigeria. He's traveled to India, traveled to Dubai, now he's in New York. What happens if the court now disqualifies him? That means that we, as Nigerians, we must evolve a system whereby no person will be sworn into any office until all the court processes have been finalized. If the court process have not finalized, yes, you cannot swear him into office.
All right.
This Tinubu example has been very pitiable for Nigeria, and we hope that nothing like it ever comes to our path again.
All right, so although this particular development has been widely hailed as a victory for Atiku, all right, there are indications that Atiku may not gain access to additional information beyond what CSU has already made public, as Tinubu's legal team contended that their client was not willing to waive his privacy privilege. The university also, in its deposition before the court, consistently confirmed that Tinubu attended the institution and indeed graduated in 1979. So for all the court can do, at the moment is to make sure that the Atiku Abubakar camp has just the result sheets and basically the copy of his academic records, including the admission letter and exam sheets. Any further details into this particular CSU certificate will not be given to the People's Democratic Party, as the privacy law is still intact, because the president may not want some details to be released. So the question is, if you're ready to release the documents, that is the exam, the time he got the admission, the academic records itself, why would there be a difficulty in releasing any other details? What other details beyond this would be more prominent or more important than, what they said they will grant to Atiku Abubakar?
The unfortunate thing about this whole episode is that it's not just the university or the record that the university has that is an issue. The admission by the United States FBI, that's the Federal Bureau of Investigations,
yes,
that they have over 2,500 files on Mr. Tinubu,
which they will begin to put out from October.
Beautiful. That means it tells you that the United States is neck deep in this rot, in this mess, and that is most unfortunate, because this is a country that is loved by millions of Nigerians. But if it is discovered, or if it is felt that the United States is part of what is keeping Nigeria back, the USA and Great Britain may have the same kind of repercussions which France is now receiving in the hands of Francophone African countries.
Yeah.
Because when you have followed the people for too long, thinking that they are altruistic, that they are progressive minded, and you now realize that they are willing to use dubious tactics or dubious means to ensure that your country does not develop, the people of that country may over time decide that enough is enough.
All
that
right.
is what has happened to France in Francophone African countries. They have watched the dubiousness of France in their internal affairs for too long, and at a certain time, all of them from Guinea, Mali, Niger, they now say enough is enough. So perhaps if this, what is going on with America, proves to be true, Nigerians may have no other choice than to be forced to say enough is enough with Americans.
I think Barrister S said that Nigerians are already actually clamoring for a different level of engagement with their foreign counterparts. But let's look at this. Section 137, subsection 1J of the Nigerian Constitution, amended in 2010, specifically stated that no one would be legitimately elected president of Nigeria if the person has presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, that was the speculation initially, that possibly while there is a back and forth about that CSU certificate, is possibly because it was forged. But now that the school has come out to authenticate by saying that he indeed attended their institution, albeit the certificate awarded is a ceremonial one, but they have actually said that it is indeed he attended the school. Why did the school during the court hearing, say that they cannot genuinely authenticate that particular certificate? Why did they say that? And if it turns out, as the school has eventually admitted, that he indeed attended that institution, then do you think Atiku Abubakar's efforts would be futile?
Now, whatever the school has said or not said before now is immaterial.
Is it material? They made that statement in court.
I'm coming. What the court has now ordered is that they should swear on oath that what they'll be releasing in the next 2 days are their documents and their certificates. So whatever they swear on oath to, the way the system works is this. The other statements they have been saying, they can be lying from both sides of their mouth and nobody cares. But if they now decide to lie on oath, somebody tangible will go to prison over it. So I'm sure they'll be more careful. What they will now submit now is what actually matters. All their double speaking before can be neglected. So let us watch and see what they will release. But I keep on saying, we should not hinge all votes on this Supreme Court petition on this issue of certificate. It is just one of more than 20 other issues, which each of those 20 is enough to derail the Tinubu presidency. But with that, to what you mentioned, the Nigerian Constitution saying that anybody who has presented a
forged certificate
cannot be the president. That is not an election issue. It is not even a matter that the election tribunals are conclusive authorities on. If tomorrow any Nigerian discovers that any of the documents presented by Tinubu is a forged document or is a falsehood, that Nigerian can legitimately approach any court, including the state high court or the federal high court, and ask for its election to be annulled. Because the issue now is a direct infraction of the Constitution.
Okay.
It's established that a man who has false certificates has been sworn in as a governor.
That is if it is. That is if it is. Although that's why I asked you if it's going to be potent. Now the school has admitted that he attended their institution. Okay.
Yes, it is very potent. And once it is, apart from this certificate, any other document, if it is proved to be false, any Nigerian can approach any high court.
Okay.
Federal high court particularly to interpret that section. And if it proves that it was really a false document, that is the end of the presidency of Mr. Tinubu.
All right, let's look at Atiku's appeal, which is based on 35 grounds, emphasizing that the tribunal had erred in its findings and conclusions. He's actually urging the apex court to nullify the presidential election, which was held on February 25. He is citing non-compliance with the Electoral Act of 2022 and misrepresentation by the Independent National Electoral Commission, contrary to the principles of the Electoral Act 2022, based on expectation. Since the tribunal gave its ruling, that is the appeal court gave its ruling, a couple of legal analysts like you have actually weighed into the pronouncement made by the Presidential Election Petition Court and the loopholes that they observed in how the judgment was made. Now, this particular, some persons call it last minute effort. The APC called this effort by the Atiku Abubakar People's Democratic Party political party as a fishing expedition, nothing substantial, meaning they discredited their effort to push through with it. And so with this last minute finding and a couple of things which were ruled out, especially this particular situation was ruled out at the Presidential Election Petition Court, do you see any way through which the apex court may give a different ruling compared to what the Presidential Election Petition Court gave?
The APC spokesperson can say whatever they like to say, but the reality is that the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal is below par. And all manners of opinion, the shades of lawyers have agreed that the justices in that panel perform very much below par, both legally speaking and technically speaking. So it is for the APC to say whatever they want to say, but the reality is that Nigerians are hopeful that the Supreme Court will do justice in this instance. And the justice that is expected of the Supreme Court is to overrule the entirety of the election petition tribunal's judgment and actually look into the matter dispassionately and give justice. Justice in this case, in my own view, is that based on several grounds. And the Abuja issue, the issue of $450,000 forfeiture, the issue of certificate forgery, the issue of Guinean citizenship, and several myriad issues. The election of Mr. Tinubu should be annulled.
All right.
And either a rerun or between the second and third parties, which is in this case the Labour Party and the PDP, or fresh elections without the APC participation. It's what is desired.
All right. Barrister Egwuatu, we've actually run out of time. I would have loved to ask you more questions, but I sincerely do appreciate your contribution and helping to clarify these issues from the legal perspective on the World News at 12.
Thank you very much for having me on board.
All right, thank you so much. Now, the Kano Police Command has said only 50 people will be allowed into the Governorship Election Tribunal. VOP News gathered that the State Commissioner of Police Usaini Mohammed Gumel stated this in a chat recently with correspondents at the headquarters of the command in Kano today. Gumel said it is a tribunal that limited the number to enter the court, adding that the judges, lawyers of the two parties, their members and journalists will be allowed into the venue. The police boss also stated that adequate security had been deployed all over the state to ensure peace during and after the judgment. The police boss also stated that in order to do this, he said, and I quote, "Since yesterday, we called the tribunal secretary to hear arrangements for the sitting, where they informed us that only 50 people will be allowed in. The number includes the judges, lawyers of the two parties and their members, journalists and the media, so it is not the police that limited the number." Nasiru Gawuna of the All Progressives Congress is challenging the outcome of the March 18 governorship elections in the state, in which Abba Kabir Yusuf of the New Nigeria People's Party was elected. Elsewhere, there was mild drama at the Oyo State Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress yesterday when angry members of the party pelted the national chairman Abdullahi Ganduje and his entourage, who were on a visit with sachet of pure water over alleged marginalization and ill treatment meted to the chapter. Before the drama, Ganduje had assured the party faithful that APC would restructure itself right from the ward to local government, state and federal levels for it to attract more members. Ganduje, who first visited the palace of Olubado of Ibadan land, Oba Lekan Balogun, thereafter proceeded on a private visit to the Ibadan residence of Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, where the incumbent governor is recuperating following his return from a 3-month medical trip from Germany. Ganduje said he appreciated the Oyo chapter for a job well done during the last general elections, which according to him resulted in the victory of President Bola Tinubu. The visit somehow turned sour as some aggrieved members of the party protested what it described as APC's national body working against a governorship candidate, Senator Teslim Folari, in the March 18 gubernatorial poll. And now to wrap up the world news at 12, here again are the top stories. You heard that ISWAP terrorists slaughter member for allegedly diverting funds for personal use. U.S. court reportedly orders Chicago University to release Tinubu's academic records to Atiku. Kano police orders only 50 persons permitted into tribunal courts. Angry Oyo APC members pelt Ganduje's entourage with sachet water. That is a wrap on the world news at 12 right here in Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. Good afternoon and thank you for staying with us.